Okay, let's get right into it. We hear constantly about AI's massive appetite for energy, right? But what if that exact same technology could actually be one of our most powerful tools for fighting climate change? That's the counter-narrative we're going to dig into.
So, is AI the bad guy here? It's the big question, and honestly, for good reason. You see the headlines about these giant data centers popping up, sucking down as much power as a small city? So before we get to the good news, let's be real about the size of the problem.
Just look at this number. 945 terawatt hours. It's so big, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around, you know? So what on earth does that actually mean?
Well, that's what the International Energy Agency thinks data centers could be guzzling by 2030 if we just let things run wild. We're talking about pretty much doubling the demand from today. This is the scary side of the story, and it is absolutely real.
But, and this is a huge but, that is only half the story. There's this really powerful counter-narrative bubbling up, and it's not about consumption. It's about massive, system-wide efficiency gains that really only AI can unlock. Now this is where it starts to get good.
So where do you even begin? Well, you start with the electrical grid. Instead of just building more and more power plants to keep up, AI gives us a way to make the system we already have work much, much smarter.
And a huge piece of this puzzle is something called a virtual power plant, or VPP. Just imagine this. Millions of devices, your EV, your smart thermostat, home batteries, all coordinated by an AI. When the grid gets stressed, they can all just dial back their power use a tiny bit all at once. They act like one giant, super fast, and totally clean power plant.
And what's really wild are the economics. Check out this chart. To keep a traditional gas peaker plant just ready and waiting for a heat wave costs about $99 per kilowatt per year. That's the tall bar. Now look at the VP, just $43. Yeah, it's less than half the price to get the same job done.
And when you add all that up, you get a number that really matters. You get to $10 billion.
That's how much we could save every single year in the US alone if we use VPPs to handle peak demand. That's $10 billion a year by not building scores of expensive new power plants. It's just a smarter way to do it.
But AI's grid magic doesn't stop there. It also helps us get way more out of the clean energy we already have. Which brings us to our next key number, 20%. So, what's that about?
That's how much more money Google squeezed out of its wind farms just by using AI to predict when the wind will blow. See, when you can predict the wind perfectly, you can promise that power to the grid with total confidence. It makes renewables more reliable, more profitable, and at the end of the day, a much safer bet to build.
Okay, so AI can help the grid. Fantastic. But what about AI's own mess? Can it clean up its own house? Well, this next number, a whopping 40%, says, oh yeah, it can.
That is how much energy Google's DeepMind cut from the cooling bill in their own data centers. They basically turned their AI inward to manage this incredibly complex dance of servers and cooling systems. It's perfect proof that the tool causing the energy problem can also be its own best solution.
All right, let's shift gears now from the power grid to the roads with another huge number, 8.5 million. Any guesses?
It's gallons of fuel. 8.5 million gallons of fuel that UPS saves every single year from just one of its AI route planning systems. This is one of those invisible climate wins. They didn't install some new engine. The AI just found a smarter path. It saves millions of miles and cuts about 85,000 tons of CO2 a year.
So, beyond making our current systems way more efficient, AI is also accelerating the hunt for brand new solutions. Specifically, tracking superpotent emissions and discovering the clean materials of the future.
Let's talk about methane. It's a greenhouse gas that's over 80 times more powerful than CO2 in the short term. The really good news? The IEA says we can technically get rid of 75% of methane emissions from the fossil fuel industry. Like right now. The opportunity here is just massive.
So where does AI come in? Think of it as the ultimate detective. It scans unbelievable amounts of satellite data to pinpoint the exact location and size of the biggest methane leaks, the so-called super emitters. It basically turns a huge global problem into a simple to-do list. Go fix that leak right there.
And for accelerating science, this is where your jaw might just hit the floor. When it comes to finding better battery materials, the old way takes years of trial and error in a lab. Well, recently, an AI sifted through 32 million possibilities and narrowed it down to the best 18 candidates in 80 hours. That's it. This already led to a new battery that could slash lithium use by 70%.
That's how you get breakthroughs at light speed.
And all this brings us right back to that big dilemma we started with. How do we make sure that all these amazing gains in efficiency and scientific discovery aren't just canceled out by AI's own massive energy bill?
Well, it turns out there's a pretty clear two-part playbook. First, you just make the hardware itself way more efficient. And new chips are already getting up to 25 times better at this. Second, as we saw with Google, you use the AI to optimize itself, managing everything from its own cooling to deciding the cheapest, cleanest time to pull power from the grid.
So what does this all add up to? Here's the key takeaway. AI isn't automatically a climate hero or a climate villain. It's an incredibly sharp tool. And its final impact on the planet isn't a given, it's a direct result of the choices we make about where we decide to point it.
And what we've seen again and again is that the biggest climate wins from AI are often totally invisible. It's the smarter grid that meant we didn't have to build another power plant. It's the delivery truck that took a slightly shorter route. It's all the carbon we never had to emit in the first place.
And in the end, it really all comes down to this one simple but powerful idea. AI doesn't save the planet by itself. But what it can do is make efficiency so cheap and so easy that the most affordable ton of carbon dioxide becomes the one we never actually had to emit. And that might just be the most important job it ever has.